You're sitting at brunch with your partner, and your mom just asked when you're getting engaged. Your partner squeezes your hand under the table. Everyone's smiling, and somewhere in the back of your mind, you're already doing the math on something you haven't even said yes to yet. Venue, catering, dress, flowers, DJ, photographer, open bar. $30,000, maybe 40, maybe more. And here's the wild part. You're not even sure you want a big wedding, but the moment someone asks, "So what are you thinking for the big day?" suddenly you're defending a courthouse ceremony like you're confessing to a crime. Look, I've watched people I love go into debt for a single day. I've seen couples delay buying homes, postpone having kids, and work jobs they hate for an extra year just to fund a party that's over before the cake is even cut. And I started wondering, why do we do this? My name is Maven, and I spent the last 2 months researching about why smart people make terrible financial decisions under emotional pressure. If you're someone who feels anxious every time family brings up weddings, or you're already engaged and quietly panicking about costs, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today, we're talking about the wedding industry, and I'm not here to tell you not to get married or not to celebrate. I'm here to show you how an entire industry has weaponized your emotions, your insecurities, and your relationships to extract maximum profit from one of the most vulnerable moments of your life. Here's the thing. The average wedding in the United States costs around $35,000. That's more than half of what the median American household makes in an entire year. Let that sink in for a second. You're spending 6 months of someone's salary on one day. Now you might be thinking, yeah, but my wedding won't be that expensive. I'm doing it differently. And maybe you are, but let me ask you this. Have you actually sat down and priced it out? Because I'm willing to bet the number in your head right now is about half of what it'll actually cost. This is what the wedding industry counts on. They know you're not walking in with a spreadsheet. You're walking in with a feeling. You're walking in with a Pinterest board and a vague idea of what your aunt might say if the centerpieces aren't nice enough. And that feeling? That's worth tens of thousands of dollars to them. Let me give you a real example. A couple I know started planning their wedding with a $15,000 budget. Reasonable, right? They weren't trying to be extravagant, just a nice day with family and friends. 6 months later, they spent $32,000. They didn't get scammed. They didn't suddenly become rich. What happened was something way more subtle. Every vendor they talked to normalized spending more. The florist casually mentioned that most couples spend $3,000 on flowers. The photographer's mid-tier package was $4,000 because you don't want to regret your photos. The venue coordinator gently suggested a premium bar package because you want your guests to have a good time, right? Each conversation shifted what felt normal, and by the end, they weren't even questioning it anymore. So why does this work so well? Why do otherwise financially responsible people suddenly start justifying $500 napkins? Because weddings aren't just purchases, they're identity transactions. When you're planning a wedding, you're not buying a service. You're buying proof that you're a good partner, a good daughter, a good son, a respectable adult who has their life together. You're buying validation from your family. You're buying social standing. You're buying a story you'll tell for the rest of your life. And the wedding industry knows this. They've spent decades perfecting the language that makes you feel like cutting costs means cutting love. Think about the phrases they use. Once-in-a-lifetime event. You deserve this. Don't you want it to be perfect? Your guests will remember this forever. Every single one of these statements is designed to make frugality feel like failure. Have you ever noticed how no other industry talks to you this way? When you buy a car, the salesperson doesn't say, "Don't you want your parents to be proud of you?" When you buy furniture, no one says, "This couch represents your commitment to your relationship." But with weddings, everything is emotional blackmail wrapped in tulle. Let's talk numbers for a second. Real numbers. Quick note, these numbers are examples, not instructions. Everyone's situation is different. The goal here is clarity, not judgment. $35,000 invested in a basic index fund with a 7% annual return becomes $70,000 in 10 years. In 20 years, it's $135,000. In 30 years, it's over $260,000. That's not me trying to shame anyone. That's just math. One day of celebration versus $250,000 in retirement security. One party versus a down payment on a house. One event versus financial breathing room for years. And here's where it gets even twisted. Most couples don't even have $35,000 sitting around, so they finance it. They put it on credit cards, they take out personal loans, they ask family to chip in, which creates this awkward debt of gratitude that lasts way longer than the marriage sometimes. I've seen couples start their lives together $20, $30, $40,000 in the hole before they've even unpacked the wedding gifts. Pause and think about your own financial situation right now. How much do you have in savings? How much student loan debt are you carrying? How far are you from buying a home or starting a family or just feeling secure? Now imagine handing over a year's worth of savings for a 6-hour party. Does that feel right to you? But Maven, you're probably thinking, I can't just not have a wedding. My family would be devastated. My friends would judge me. People would think something's wrong. And you're right. That pressure is real. It's not imagined. It's not in your head. Because the wedding industry doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's supported by an entire culture that's been trained to equate wedding size with relationship quality. We've been conditioned to believe that love is measured in guest counts and floral arrangements. Your mom wants you to have the wedding she had, or the one she didn't get to have. Your friends want to see you do the Instagram-worthy thing they're all secretly comparing themselves to. Your partner might feel guilty about depriving you of something you've supposedly dreamed about since childhood. And underneath all of it is this unspoken fear that if you don't do the big wedding, people will think you're cheap or uncommitted or that your relationship isn't serious. But here's a question nobody asks. When was the last time you went to a wedding and thought, wow, they must really love each other because of how expensive this DJ was? You don't measure love by the cost of the centerpieces, but somehow, when it's your own wedding, you forget that. So here's where the shift happens. And this is the part I wish someone had told me years ago when I was watching people I care about make decisions they'd regret. Your wedding is not your marriage. Read that again. Your wedding is not your marriage. The wedding is a single day. The marriage is every single day after that. And starting your marriage in financial chaos because you wanted one perfect day is like buying a luxury car you can't afford and then being surprised when you can't pay for gas. The smartest couples I know, the ones who actually seem happy 5-10 years down the line, are the ones who made decisions based on what they actually wanted, not what they thought they were supposed to want. Some of them had tiny weddings, some eloped, some had big weddings but cut costs in ways that didn't matter. And some waited years to get married because they prioritized financial stability first. And you know what? Their marriages aren't less valid. Their love isn't less real. If anything, they started with less stress, less debt, and more freedom to actually build a life together. I talked to a couple recently who canceled their $30,000 wedding 6 weeks before the date. They lost deposits, they disappointed family. It was messy and hard. But they used the money they'd saved to put a down payment on a small house instead. And when I asked if they regretted it, they both laughed and said no, because every month when they pay their mortgage instead of rent, they're reminded that they chose their future over everyone else's expectations. That's freedom. So, what do you actually do with this information? How do you navigate wedding planning without either going into debt or alienating everyone you love? First, you get brutally honest about what you actually want versus what you think you're supposed to want. Sit down with your partner, away from family, away from social media, and ask yourselves what kind of day would actually make you happy. Not your mom, not your friends, you. Maybe that's a backyard barbecue with 50 people. Maybe it's a destination elopement with just the two of you. Maybe it's a traditional ceremony, but with a food truck instead of a caterer. There's no wrong answer except the one that puts you in financial jeopardy. Second, set a budget based on what you can actually afford, not what the industry says is normal. If you've got $5,000, your budget is $5,000. If you've got $50,000 and you're comfortable spending it, fine. But the number has to be real, and it has to be money you actually have, not money you're hoping to have or planning to borrow. And third, and this is important, get comfortable disappointing people, because you will disappoint people. Your mom might cry when you say you're not doing a church wedding. Your college roommate might be hurt she's not a bridesmaid. Your partner's dad might complain about the beer selection. And that's okay. Their feelings are their responsibility, not your financial burden. Here's a quick framework you can actually use. I call it the wedding reality check, and you can pause the video and write this down if it helps. 1. List everything you genuinely want at your wedding, not everything you've been told you need, everything you want. 2. Price out each item honestly. Call vendors, get real quotes. Don't guess. 3. Add it all up and compare it to what you can actually afford without debt. 4. Cut everything that doesn't matter to you personally until the numbers match. 5. Practice saying, "That's not in our budget," until it feels natural, because you're going to say it a lot. But there's something even bigger here that we need to talk about, and it's not really about weddings at all. The wedding industry is just one example of how we've been taught to spend money to perform our lives for other people. It's the same reason people buy houses they can't afford to impress neighbors they don't like. It's why we finance cars we don't need and throw birthday parties that stress us out. We've confused spending with success. We've confused consumption with care. We think that if we don't spend enough money on the people and moments we love, it means we don't love them enough. And that's a trap that goes way beyond weddings. Every time you make a financial decision based on what other people might think, you're giving away a piece of your freedom. You're trading your future peace of mind for present-day approval from people who probably aren't even paying that much attention. Look, I'm not here to tell you what to do. If you want a big wedding and you can afford it without wrecking your financial future, go for it. Celebrate however feels right to you. But if you're feeling pressured, if you're feeling anxious, if you're lying awake at night doing math in your head and wondering how you're going to pay for all this, I want you to know that you're not broken. You're not selfish. You're not ruining anything. You're just caught in a system that profits from your fear of disappointing people. And the truth is, the people who really love you don't need you to go into debt to prove it. They just need you to be happy. They need you to build a life that feels sustainable and peaceful and true to who you actually are. Your wedding doesn't define your marriage. Your marriage is what happens after the wedding, in the quiet moments when no one's watching, when you're making decisions together about money and work and life. That's where the real partnership lives. So start there. Start with the marriage you want to build, not the wedding you think you're supposed to have. And remember, progress beats perfection. You don't have to get this all right. You just have to be honest with yourself and protective of your future. That's enough. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who's planning a wedding or thinking about getting engaged. And if you want more content like this where we break down the psychology and math behind financial decisions, hit subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.